In today's video, we're going to go over a case study. We're going to bring as much value as we can in this time to talk about a couple that when they retire, which is in June of 2029, they're going to have about $2.1 million of investable assets. And with that, that's going to give them, we recommend that they can spend $12,400 a month after taxes or net, that's their spending capacity. And before retirement or in retirement, if their portfolio were to rise to $2.5 million, we would recommend they could increase that spending to $14,300 a month net. And if their portfolio were to fall to about $1.5 million, we would recommend that they decrease their spending to about $12,000 a month net after taxes. Kyle, do you want to talk about some concerns and more of a background about this couple?
So let's talk about a married couple here, both working, both bringing in wages, and done a great job at saving. They're going to plan on retiring at the same time, so I think we're targeting June of 2029. Mm-hmm. So we've got about a 4 to 5 year window. Ideally, we like to get people in sooner, about 10 years out, but the sooner the better. Specifically here, we help people that are within 10 years out from retirement to start putting all the pieces together and help them solve their puzzle. They both will qualify for Social Security, but we're going to talk about their top two primary concerns, because some there's people that have 15. I'm going to break it down. Here's their top two. Number one, how do we maximize their Social Security? And I would ask Colin, I would ask anybody, I ask everybody, what does that even mean to you? Because it means something probably different to me than it does to you and the next person. And a lot of people are saying, look, I just want to make sure when I claim it, and over my lifetime I get every nickel and dime as I can out of Social Security. So if this is your first time listening to the show or watching, I would recommend going back to past shows where we talk about Social Security more. And if you've been following us and subscribed for a while, you understand that Social Security is not about when you take it, it is about how you take it. Social Security by itself is not taxable. And I know it's like elections are coming up and now they're starting to spin ideas like make Social Security tax free, don't make Social Security taxable for the seniors. And I always just tell people Social Security for a lot of people out there is not taxed, it is tax free. It's basically your resources that you have saved and where you're going to pull money out to show on your tax return that truly determine how you maximize it, without like assuming how long I don't know how long you're gonna live, right? So that was their main concern, which is pretty popular for a married couple, like maximizing Social Security. And then number two is they came to the realization that they don't really have great tax diversification. We came to a class, Kyle, we watched a couple of YouTube shows, and we came to the realization that we need some ongoing tax efficient planning to figure out how to reduce our lifetime tax bills, aka avoid giving our favorite uncle a nice little tip. And then like for them, their tip was going to be almost close to $600,000 in additional federal taxes between doing it just this one way, the traditional way, versus implementing like multiple tax strategies. So that really kind of opened the eyes and said, hey, like this is a concern of ours. Like if we do live too long and spend our money like we're planning on, we just want to make sure we pay our fair share and nothing else. So a quick background, they're in their lower 60s, early 60s, married. Projected retirement date, as we talked about, was June 2029. Both qualify for Social Security. Full retirement age for John was about $3,700. Again, we're just doing some rounding. And then Jane was about $1,800. If you're familiar with Social Security rules, for the spouse is entitled to half of the other spouse's full retirement benefits as long as they wait to their age. So that's something to keep in mind. From an asset perspective, they currently sit on about 1.6, depending on like what the markets are doing that day. So we do some rounding, 1.6 in
mostly tax deferred.
Yeah, mostly tax deferred retirement accounts. Hey guys, great job. We've got up the mountain, we're almost to the top. Like really gonna have to figure out what's the plan to get down the mountain, which is the hardest part. And just doing some quick math and looking at some bank accounts, their desired spending in retirement, I hate asking this question, because some people just make it up, at $10,000 per month. So really we've taken a different approach, like let's not solve for $10,000. Let's show this household what they could spend. It might be way more than $12,000, it might be under, so they kind of know what adjustments they have we already cheated and gave you the answers. They know they could get more if they wanted to. So that's just kind of a quick background of looking at their resources as it sits today. So kind of recapping their resources, their total retirement assets. Again, a lot of the individuals that we talk to or work with are 50 to 65, 7 figures in tax deferred, mainly like 1 to 5 million. So we're looking at this household here, and they've done a great job saving. They have very little in Roth, which is the smallest portion of their savings. They have some money in after-tax brokerage accounts with a decent cost basis. But again, the major issue here, which is their concern, is we see that we have a bunch of money that we haven't paid taxes on. And we kind of understand now that this 1.1 or this $1.3 million is not all ours. We do have a minority shareholder on this account. So again, this household can spend, we would recommend a spending capacity of roughly about $12,000. So $12,000 to $13,000. The plan says $12,400 after tax if they get to about 2.1. It's not going to work this easy. We're just going to, 2.1. They could be at 2 million. Luckily for them, the plan still suggests they can spend $12,400 at 2 million or even at 1.9. The only reason why they would have to adjust their spending is if they are at closer to about 1.6. We would recommend $12,000 per month. If we're just looking at this, if I just showed the household this information, I would basically say, what are these numbers telling you? The numbers are telling me that you're basically almost fully funded for retirement, and you could probably move up your target retirement dates from 2029 to 2027 if you wanted to. You don't have to, but you could. You got more than you would really want. So again, that kind of comes down to, we want people to retire on time and reduce taxes and spend more. This is kind of opening the garage door to saying, hey, it could be optional for us to retire sooner. So let's look at some options here. So Social Security, which we're going to show you in a second here, is the calculator itself. We're not going to look at a calculator, but the calculator says, wait longer to get more. I think the calculator is going to say age 70 and 67. Mm-hmm. We're recommending that the husband takes Social Security January 2030. Which is roughly about $3,800 per month or about $46,000 per year. That's tax preference money. That will be best for the surviving spouse. And then the spouse at the same time is going to file January 2030 and roughly get about $1,800 per month in Social Security payments. And the primary order of withdrawal strategy, if you're not familiar with the order of withdrawal strategy means, is like, to get your $10,000 per month, where are you pulling it from? What's the plan here? What's the order of the sequence of how much is coming out from where? This household, their primary was to spend tax deferred money plus Social Security to get to that amount, and then in the future, spend Roth last. So they're going to retire in June, really live off some cash, and then start everything coming in the following year. And then every household, we believe, should have a secondary order of withdrawal strategy. It's like, what happens if tax rates go up right when you retire? What happens if you retired at the wrong time and the markets start going down? Which we have a plan for that for spending, but we're actually going to flip where the money is coming from. Really what happens is if you retire into a bear market, you got to shift from saying let's do what's best tax-wise to let's do what's best to preserve the nest egg. How do we sell the least amount of shares to get the most amount of income? So they're going to spend taxable accounts, Roths, and take Social Security early to solve for their income and really not touch that tax deferred account till last.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the screen and you showed someone, you can spend $12,400 after taxes, like where does that actually come from, right? It's like, it's not just pull equal amounts from different account types and you're good. You want to have orders of withdrawals, multiple, right, primary and secondary, that if, hey, in good times, primary, and if we have some bad times, what's our secondary, so that we can, again, like Kyle said, in bad times, like preserve the IRA money, the tax deferred money, to let that hopefully regrow and get back to where it was, and then you might be able to switch back to your primary. So if we go back to Social Security and recap, step by step, what the calculators say is best for you, and then also what we would recommend these clients do. So step by step, we go back and we look at John, the husband. We are recommending that he takes Social Security not at what the calculator says. The calculator said wait till 70, take it then, and the calculator doesn't know anything other than just numbers, doesn't know anything about you and your situation. So we're recommending him actually take it early at 67, beginning of 2030, and that's going to be roughly about $3,800 a month And then for Jane, we're recommending that she take it about the same time he does at 66, and her benefits would be about that $1,700 a month. Again, calculator says for her, maybe to wait even longer too, but we know that that's not the best for them and what they're looking to do with their money.
Yeah, so remember, one of their primary concerns was maximize Social Security. And at the end of the day, you have to understand gross versus net break-evens. The calculator said wait till 70, and then the spouse at 67, which cumulatively, if they live a very long life, they would potentially get more gross. However, we have a firm belief that if you do proper tax strategy and financial planning and spending, that some households can afford to take it earlier, do some tax strategies, and over a long time lifespan, that they would end up keeping more net over their lifetime and enjoy those Social Security dollars sooner. If we just compared on the calculator the MoCan Wealth recommendation versus the calculator, the break even was around 83 in a couple months. And so cumulatively I go, hey guys, I'm gonna ask you a question. If we're sitting here at age 84 or 85, 86, would you be mad at me if you're still living and you could have gotten an extra 50, 60, 70, $80,000 if you made it to 90? Do you think you lost the game because you missed out on $120,000 from Social Security because you lived till 90 and not 83?
Cumulatively. Yeah, not in 1 year.
And most people would say no. We're glad we took it when we did. We enjoyed it up front. And basically to offset this is I know Social Security might do the heavy lifting up front and not as much income potential in the future because we're taking it earlier. All we need to do to offset that risk is making sure your stocks and the portion of your portfolio that's supposed to grow is invested properly to grow, so it can make up that extra income it needs over your 30 plus years. That's how you offset that risk, which they were okay with. So we're going to go against the calculator and really implement some tax strategy and take the Social Security earlier.
So when it comes to the investment side of things, of course, the goal is to make sure that you're invested properly for retirement, but also leading up into retirement. You want to make sure that as you're approaching that retirement, that the money that you have invested is going to reach your goals, and then when you're in retirement, that money is invested properly. And so for this plan and for these clients, we calculated that to achieve their retirement goals, that their portfolio leading up to retirement would need to do about 7% average return, and then when they're in retirement, to achieve all their goals with spending and whatnot, need to have about a 5.6% return on their portfolio.
Yeah, so once they start spending the money, to keep everything on track with those guardrails, 5.6 is what we need our money to do in a rolling 10-year period. And so if we kind of take a look at a risk perspective, most households are going to say show us what we can spend, but with the least amount of adjustment as possible. So a 5 to 10% decrease. So really this household, if their portfolio were to drop around 25% is the number, if they had a market pullback or their portfolio dropped down to about from 2.1 down to 1.5, 1.6, we would be suggesting that they adjust their spending by 5%, which would be roughly for them about $700 to $800 in monthly expenses for the time being until we get back to our target balance. And so that's just what we like to let people know what those numbers would be beforehand, so we can create and design a retirement investment strategy before and after retirement. So something like theirs would look like with their total portfolio. We're at a minimum going to have 3 years of portfolio income in stable investments like laddered U.S. Treasuries. So typically if we're doing it, or keep it simple, we're going to have at a minimum 3 years of portfolio income in 1 to 3 month, 3 to 12 month, and 1 to 5 year U.S. Treasuries. Very stable, they're laddered, and basically saying if they're going to retire in 2029 and the markets drop in 2027, it's not going to change your retirement dates. Or if the markets, you get sequence of returns risk and you retire and the markets are crashing in 2030, we don't have to get ready or get prepared, we're already ready for it to happen. We've set this money aside to let it do its thing, and then basically the remaining portion of their portfolio is going to be in a diversified stock basket with dividend growth stocks, high dividend paying stocks, and then just straight growth stocks. Making sure IRA, Roth, and taxable brokerage accounts are invested appropriately, to make sure stuff's not showing up on the tax returns and growing in the right direction. So again, that's what it kind of looks like. And then while they're working, we just want to make sure that their employer plans are working. Like how this money is invested is working with like how their money on the outside is working, which a lot of people don't have. They're like, I just throw my money in target date funds here, and then let Joe Bob Sue at this wirehouse do the money here, and like nothing's ever working together. So that's kind of the investment plan itself, to kind of start aligning it with the financial plan.
Yeah, it's all about aligning your investments the way that your plan wants it to be, right? So whatever, depending on their spending, depending on what the plan we put together, make sure the investments mimic that, so we can help the investor achieve those goals.
Yeah, giving you return of sleep, knowing that there's an actual strategy in place, not just like 60-40, and you understand the strategy. Just keep it simple. Like, we don't have to outguess the markets. Diversified stocks, a certain number of years of portfolio income, and something that's stable. We use U.S. Treasuries, and build your plan first, invest your money last.
In your retirement plan, we cannot forget about your biggest expense in retirement, which is going to be your tax bill. And that was actually one of their concerns, like Kyle said earlier, which was ongoing. They want a tax efficient planning to reduce their long-term tax bill. And so what we recommended to these clients is to start doing Roth conversions in 2024 to, over the long term, reduce their tax bill.
Yeah, do you have to do it? No. We suggest you do it because for a lot of the households, like I said, within 10 years, they're going to spend their money. They got 7 figures in tax deferred accounts, and I don't know if I've ever ran a plan where their federal tax bill isn't the biggest bill over their lifetime by hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I go, guys, we can ignore it for now, but eventually it's going to creep in. There's these landmines. If we want to address it, here's what's going to happen. Why should you do Roth conversions if you're single or married, even if you're working or in retirement? You'll be better prepared for major tax law changes. This goes back to other shows and our conversations every day. If tax rates stay constant, IRAs and Roths are the same. However, if a stroke of a pen, tax laws do change and they do go up, Roth IRAs win, and you'll be better prepared in retirement. You can yell at the TV all day or be prepared. Proactive versus reactive. We want to be the proactive planners. We're not going to be the financial advisors that just give you pie charts and charge you and have confusing pie charts and fees, and then like, hey, yeah, we're just going to ignore your tax problem. Don't worry about it. When you retire, you'll be in a lower tax bracket. It's not really typically how we see it working out. So you'll be better prepared for that. Bear markets do exist. So in retirement, if you plan on living 20, 30, 40 years, more than likely you're going to see quite a few bear markets, uncomfortable times. And so Roth conversions allow you to be prepared for bear markets, sorry. So you don't have to sell as many shares to get your income. Number 3, if you are married, we do not want the surviving spouse to be hit with like a widow or widower's penalty, where you're going to go from a joint to a single tax filer and lose Social Security and then bring in tax deferred to bump you up. So same amount of income, but paying more taxes on that. We want your money, longevity-wise, tax planning can make your money just last longer in general. And skilled care, where almost like 70 to 75% of pre-retirees in that demographic are going to need some type of care at the end of life. And if you're going to self-insure, you just want to make sure you're using the appropriate buckets to pay for that. Tax planning is pretty simple. You're taking control of your tax. What you're doing is you're going to basically say, I'm going to say when I'm paying taxes, how I'm paying it. And then if I do it like that, down the road when I spend it, it's not going to show up on my tax return. It's pretty cool when like you have a household that has $68,000 of Social Security, but $34,000 of it showing up on their tax returns because of some strategies that you executed. And then the last one, again, if you have 7 figures in tax deferred accounts, don't think about it. You could be paying an additional $80,000 to $120,000 over a 30-year retirement for the same exact policy or plan as someone else who made under like $206,000. So we kind of look at, hey, could this impact you? So those are some reasons why you would do the tax strategy to address their main concerns. So for 2024, I'm going to make this as simple as it could be. A lot of tax plans and strategies are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 steps to get to it. So for 2024 and 2025, we kind of just looked at their 2023 tax return, because I go, hey guys, in my classes, you want to know the easiest way to spot a disguised advisor, someone that just gathers assets, puts you in the models, and moves on to the next person? and I'm not picking on the industry, I'm just saying they're gonna ignore your biggest tax bill, Uncle Sam. So they didn't collect your tax return up front. Looked at your tax return, everything starts there. You're in the 22% bracket. Your average tax rate's around 14% on all of your dollars. It might make sense to go up into the 24% bracket because you don't have very much room in your 22%. So what this would potentially look like is raising their average tax rate from 14% up to 17.6 on all their dollars and showing another $120,000 to $125,000 in Roth conversions. It's never just 125. Usually for moving shares over, it comes over as 121,646 or in change. But that $125,000 Roth conversion, if we do this for 2024 and 2025, we're saying, hey, my favorite uncle, I'm gonna intentionally write you another check on purpose and pay it now versus paying it later because of all these other pros versus the cons. So that's something that would look like, because our goal is at some point when the tax strategy is done and it's executed, we're going to have tax diversification. We're going to have Social Security, Roth IRA, and taxable income coming in at the same time to create tax diversification. We got all the tax lenses working, income's not showing up on your tax return.
So that's just a case study of married couple, about $2.1 million in retirement, walking through how much they can spend, how much we recommend they can spend, how much they're looking for, their concerns, their goals, and kind of just a process that we go through with our clients. Kyle, any lasting words?
If you're listening and you're within 10 years of retirement and have 7 figures, you got a plan. Plan it out, look at all the options and the scenarios, and then understand what adjustments have to be made as life happens. When you can do that, you're making wise retirement planning decisions.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.